Hi guys, welcome to another hobby update video. I wanted to talk to you about my Great Unclean One, which I added to my Nurgle army when Maggotkin was released. This model is absolutely fantastic. It's one of my favourites. It's such a good sculpt. It was an absolute joy to build. A lot of the joins are hidden in these lovely, glorious folds from the grandfather himself. Now, as part of my army, I wanted the bow and the knife because I wanted to buff my army, and I was using a drone unit, so that's why I went with this loadout. I've dry brushed this guy up following the YouTube video that Games Workshop released, which is how to paint a Great Unclean One, which you can find. Now, I did take up an extra stage. I think Nurgle in green is the highest highlight. I might have added a tiny bit of pallid in there just to take it up a slight notch. I wanted to make sure that I got the I didn't want a dusty look, so when you dry brush, if you keep the paint kind of a little bit softer, and softer I mean a little bit wet actually is what I mean, and take your time, and it does take a lot of time to get that right, but if you get it right, you can't always put more on, you can't take it off. So it's much better to be soft and staged than it is to try and be heavy-handed and skip steps. Mid-tone steps are really important with dry brushing, and I tend to wet brush those almost a little bit like stipple or blend. And if you've got any of the Artis Opus Series D, they're really good for that kind of laying down those dry brush layers, especially on big models like this. Byron did a great video on painting a Great Unclean One. You can check that out as well. Completely different style to this, but it's still a valid way of painting a large centerpiece model. So this red cloth, this is that lovely sanguine base colour that I love from P3. You can actually, there actually is new GW paints, Baraknar, Burgundy and Gout Vorburg Red, or however you say it, which are really good, and I use those quite a lot. I think the highlights in this are Tuscarora Fur, and they go up through mixing that in and a little bit of pallid to highlight it, and then I've glazed in the washes Caribou Crimson and Black just to take these down, and I've tried to make these smooth transitional blends. I've done a little bit of hatching here. It's very subtle, but you can see I've done lines to make it look a little bit textured. I wanted the cloth to look like it had a bit of texture to it. And that's the same red that I've used on a lot of my Nurgle models, and I think it's really nice. It contrasts really nicely with the green. A lot of my colours that I paint are desaturated. I don't like super bright reds, super bright greens. I like to take things more earthy, more desaturated, more realistic. I know it's a big plague demon, but you get the idea. The horns, again, these are, I always struggle with doing horns, about doing this dark on the tips, and this is just putting layers of wash, wait for it to dry, another layer of wash, wait for it to dry, another layer of wash, wait for it to dry. Build up, build up, build up, build up. There's agrax on there. And this is done exactly the same way as the Warhammer TV video. It's something I shied away from on my Blight Kings, and I wanted to push myself a little bit with that. So the horns were challenging, and I think they come out quite nicely. They could do with a little bit of a tidy up, but this is a gaming model. I've got here the metallic, and I use a lot of the Vallejo Air metallics because they cover really nicely. I know that sounds bizarre, but they do. And I think I started off with rust, and I went through there. And what I've done is, this is actually, the metallics are actually quite rich. And what I've done is I've used a green to, and you can see all this teal jade green, which is actually scaly green, watered down to do these like marks to make this whole thing less red. I've basically put a touch of green ink in with the browns that I've washed it in to desaturate it, because I wanted to pull it back into a dull brassy colour. I wanted it to look kind of a bit neglected, a little bit unpolished, and that's what I've done there. And I've done a little bit of the same on the metallics here, a little bit of staining. It looks like maybe it's dripped, it's contaminated this bit here. You know, maybe it's plated, who knows. It's a bit decayed. And again, this skull here is a little bit brighter. It's kind of a little bit less. It's a little bit less desaturated to this. It's a little bit more of a shine to it. With the buboes, I've taken those up another level. So these have gone up through like sort of Snakebite or XV88 for those new people, up through Baylor Brown or Bubonic for old schools, into Screaming Skull. I think maybe Shubty Bone Screaming Skull Pallid. It's horrible glaze that makes them look so shiny and gross. Love it. But then I've done a little bit of red here. There's a little bit of red ink. I think it's Blood for the Blood God actually thinned and washed into these recesses. The purpley musculature, that's done. I wanted this matte and I wanted this fat layer glossy, so that's got a little bit of a gloss. This has got a matte finish. I wanted it to almost look like it's kind of stretching and splitting, but it's not really bleeding. It's kind of necrosis on there. It's not really. I didn't want to have loads of blood effect on here. I think it'd look a bit weird. I've got a little bit of seepage that I've painted on with Blood for the Blood God, but it's easy to overdo that. And I'm really happy how it came out. And I didn't want to cover this up with effects. Realistic, yes or no, I don't know, but I just wanted to go for that. So this is again starting off with that lovely sanguine base that I use a lot. You could replace that with Baraknar Burgundy or Galvorbak red, into Screamer Pink, into Pink Horror. And what I've done is I've added Kislev Flesh and Pallid into this to pink it up, because I wanted the guts to look fleshy. And you can see I've done it on these little tentacles, on the lips. The eyes are just these sort of yellow orbs. I didn't want to put much in the eyes. I didn't want to do pupils or anything like that. I think it's better to have like demonic glowing yellow eyes. I might do something different with that in the future. I painted another one, but yeah, that's the model. You may notice the lack of Nurglings. I never got around to painting them. I do have them in a box. Basing again is exactly the same as the army, because it's for an army. So this is that cork basing with the slime pools. If you want to know how I did that, you can watch the Blow Up Rotspawn video. But he's my centerpiece for my Nurgle army. I took this army to Adepticon, so people who went there would have seen it there, and I managed to get a painting nomination with my army, so I'm really happy with that. I'd be interested to see if I entered him into a Golden Demon monster category, if he'd get a pin. I would hope he would. He's a bit too generic to do that. I mean, it was not done as a painting piece, and the monsters is a weird category because a lot of people don't enter it because it's a lot of effort to paint a big monster, so it might do quite well. I don't think it would win anything because it's not done to that level. It is a gaming piece at the end of the day, and I followed the GW video with some extra enhancements. But yeah, super happy with that. If you like this model, you're a bit weird today. If you like it, then you want to know how I use any effects, let me know. You can leave comments below. But I just wanted to show off another model for my Nurgle army. I'll be doing another couple of these videos just to show off some of my other models that I've done. But yeah, super happy with him. Hope you like it, and cheers for watching.